I want to tell you about the night my husband's boss decided my job was a joke, and how one contract folder turned his laughter into silence in under 10 seconds. My name is Priya. My husband Dev works as a project manager at a mid-sized logistics tech company, the kind with a nice office, a decent 401k match, and a CEO named Grant Holloway who liked to remind people, at every possible opportunity, that he'd built the company from a garage. Grant wasn't cruel exactly. He was the specific kind of confident that comes from having been right often enough that he'd stopped questioning himself at all. He measured people quickly, filed them into categories, and rarely revisited the filing once it was done. 3 years ago, at Dev's first company holiday party, I made the mistake of answering a simple question honestly. "So, what do you do?" Grant had asked, holding a glass of the good scotch he kept for these events, the kind he made sure everyone noticed he was pouring. "I run an e-commerce consulting business," I said. "I help small and mid-size brands optimize their supply chain and fulfillment operations, mostly direct-to-consumer stuff." Grant nodded slowly, the way people do when they've already decided the conversation isn't interesting but are being polite about it. "That's cute," he said. "Like an Etsy shop kind of thing." "Not exactly," I said. "More on the operations and logistics side. I work with companies doing anywhere from a few 100,000 to a few million a year in revenue, helping them fix bottlenecks in their fulfillment." Sure, Grant said, already glancing past me toward someone more interesting. "Good for you. Little side hustle keeps you busy while Dev's out there doing the real work." I let it go. It cost me nothing to let him believe whatever he wanted. I'd built my consulting business from nothing 4 years earlier, after leaving a corporate operations role that had quietly ground me down to nothing. And I'd learned early on that explaining the size and seriousness of what I did to people who'd already decided it was small was a waste of energy I didn't have to spend. Dev apologized in the car afterward, the way he always did after a Grant interaction. "He's like that with everyone," he said. "It's not really about you." "I know," I said, and I meant it. It genuinely wasn't about me. It was about Grant, and men like Grant, who needed the world sorted into things that mattered and things that didn't, with very little room in between. Over the next 3 years, my business grew in the way businesses actually grow, which is to say unglamorously, in fits and starts, through unpaid invoices and clients who ghosted and slow months where I questioned everything, followed by breakthroughs that made the hard months worth it. I hired my first employee 18 months in, my second a year after that. By this most recent holiday party, I had a team of 6, a client roster that included 2 companies you'd probably recognize if I named them, and a business that had, the previous year, done just under $2 million in revenue. I still didn't talk about it much at Dev's work events. Not out of humility exactly, more because I'd learned that some rooms weren't worth the explanation, and Grant's Christmas party was reliably one of them. This year's party was at a nicer venue than usual. The company had had a strong year, apparently, and Grant wanted everyone to know it. Dev and I arrived a little late, found our table, and I settled in for the usual 2 hours of polite small talk and eavesdropping on shop talk I only half understood. Grant found us about 40 minutes in, scotch in hand, same as always. "Dev, and—" He paused, the way he always did, like my name required a small effort to retrieve. "Priya, still doing the online store thing." "Still doing the consulting thing," I said, mild as ever. Right, he said, and turned slightly toward the small cluster of executives who drifted over with him, the way he always did when he wanted an audience for whatever came next. "Priya's got this cute little online business," he said, to nobody in particular and everybody at once. "Like a side hustle, right? Something to keep busy." One of the executives, a woman I didn't recognize, gave a polite, uncertain laugh. The kind people give when they're not sure if something's actually funny, but the boss seems to think it is. I felt Dev tense slightly beside me. I put a hand lightly on his arm. Let it go. "It's grown a bit since we last talked," I said, keeping my voice light. "But it's fine. I don't need to bore everyone with the details at a holiday party." No, I'm curious, Grant said, and there was an edge under the joviality now, the specific tone of a man who decided to make a point and wasn't quite ready to let it go. What's the business called? Maybe I've heard of it. He said it like a challenge, like he already knew the answer was no. Meridian Fulfillment Solutions, I said. Something flickered across the face of the executive standing just behind Grant's shoulder, a man I hadn't been introduced to, wearing a lanyard from a different department. His eyebrows went up slightly. Wait, he said. Meridian, as in the Meridian that redid our West Coast distribution contract this spring. The table went quiet in that particular way tables go quiet when a piece of information doesn't fit the shape everyone had assumed. That's us, I said. Grant's smile faltered slightly, recalibrating. Hold on, he said. I would have known if we'd hired some kind of. You didn't hire me directly, I said. You hired my company, through your VP of Operations back in March. 6-month engagement, redesigning your West Coast fulfillment network after that warehouse delay issue you had last winter. I believe the contract value was around $420,000. I paused. I wasn't on site much. I mostly worked with your ops team directly. I'm surprised it didn't come up. Grant's face did something complicated. I watched him run the math in real time. The invoice he'd definitely seen cross his desk at some point, a name he'd definitely glanced at and definitely hadn't connected to the little online business woman standing 3 feet away from him at his own Christmas party. That project fixed our entire delay issue, the man with the lanyard said, mostly to Grant now, clearly still processing. Ops was talking about that team for months. I didn't realize that was. He looked at me properly for the first time. You're the one who redesigned the routing algorithm. That was incredible work. We cut our average delivery time by almost 30%. Thank you, I said. That's basically what we do. Grant recovered the way men like Grant always recover, reaching for a joke to paper over the gap. Well, he said, small world. Guess the little side hustle's doing all right. He laughed, but it landed thin this time, nobody quite joining in the way they had before. It's not really a side hustle, I said, evenly, no edge in it, just fact. It's a company. 6 employees, a couple million in annual revenue, and yes, apparently one of our clients is you. Nobody said much after that. Dev's hand found mine under the table, the way it always did, and I felt him fighting not to smile too visibly at his boss standing there recalibrating 3 years of assumptions in real time. I want to be clear that I didn't feel triumphant exactly. There's a specific flavor of satisfaction in a moment like that, but it's quieter than people expect. Less, I told you so, and more just the simple relief of a fact finally landing where it should have landed a long time ago. Grant found Dev alone by the bar about 20 minutes later. Dev told me about it in the car. He asked if I could put in a word, Dev said, half laughing, still processing it himself. Said Meridian's contract is up for renewal in the spring, and he wants to make sure we're, quote, staying in Priya's good graces. I laughed at that, actually laughed, the first real laugh of the whole night. Tell him the renewal decision goes through our account team like anyone else's, I said, but I appreciate the concern about my good graces. Dev looked over at me at the red light, something warm and a little proud in his expression. You know you didn't have to say anything tonight, he said. You could have just let it go, like you always do. I know, I said. I usually do. I thought about it for a second. I think I just got tired of watching him decide what my work was worth without ever actually asking. That contract did get renewed, for the record, for a slightly larger engagement this time. I never brought up the party again, and to his credit, neither did Grant. He's been carefully, almost comically respectful in every interaction since, the overcorrection of a man who got caught making an assumption in front of people whose opinion he actually cared about. I don't think Grant fundamentally changed how he sees the world. I think he changed how he sees me, specifically, which is a smaller thing but not a nothing thing. Some people only learn to stop underestimating you one very specific, very well-documented exception at a time. What I keep coming back to, though, isn't the moment his face changed at that party. It's every quiet month before it, the invoices that came in late, the client who ghosted us for 6 weeks, the year I paid myself less than my newest hire because the business needed the runway more than I did. Nobody was there to see any of that. Nobody needed to be. I wasn't building Meridian for a moment at a holiday party. I was building it because it needed building, and because I was good at it, and because cute little online business was never going to be the whole story, whether or not anyone at that table ever found out. If someone's ever looked at your work and decided it was small before they bothered to ask, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, and what it felt like when they finally found out otherwise. We share stories like this every day. If you don't want to miss the next one, go ahead and subscribe. There's always another story waiting.